Welcome to the Office on Violence Against Women pre-application information session for the fiscal year 2024, Grants to Prevent and Respond to Domestic Violence, Dating Violence, Sexual Assault, and Stalking Against Children and Youth Program Solicitation. This is also referred to as the CY program. I'm Krista Blakeney-Mitchell, the Associate Director for the CY program. Next slide. This information session is being presented by OVW CY team members, Brandon Salvatore, Elena Roberts, and Tracy Rollins. This webinar is meant to serve as a source of information regarding the CY application process. It is strongly recommended that you read the full solicitation and have it open to follow along today as we will reference information and page numbers. We recognize that reading the solicitation and preparing an application can be a challenging process. Our goal in this session is to clarify several important aspects of the solicitation and application process in order to help you submit a successful application. Next slide. And at this time, I will now turn it over to Elena to begin the presentation.
Thank you, Krista. And thank you everyone for joining us today and for your interest in applying to the CY program. While it is not possible to go over every aspect of the solicitation in the time allotted today, we will go over what is new with the CY program this year, the CY program scope and eligibility, application information, the solicitation process and key dates, and helpful tips along the way. The session will be broken into two parts. Part one will discuss the CY program itself, what's new with the program this year, award length and amounts, priority and purpose areas, required partnerships, and out-of-scope activities. Part two will discuss eligibility requirements, important dates, and the submission process. All prospective applicants are responsible for closely reading the FY24 CY solicitation and the OVW solicitation companion guide to ensure that your application is complete and competitive. Before we get started, please note that the CY solicitation is one of two solicitations issued under the Consolidated Youth and Engaging Men grant programs. The other solicitation is focused on engaging men and boys as allies in the prevention of violence against women and girls. This information session focuses solely on the children and youth solicitation. If you are interested in submitting an application for engaging men and boys, that webinar will take place at 3 p.m. Eastern Time today. While you may apply to both programs, you can only receive a grant from one or the other. We encourage you to ask questions throughout the presentation by typing your questions in the Q&A box. Please be sure to use the Q&A box rather than the chat box so that we can more accurately keep track of questions and responses. While we cannot provide input on specific projects, we will do our best to respond to all questions. I will be managing the Q&A box throughout the presentation, so be sure to check back to see my responses to your questions. I will now turn it over to Brandon to talk about what's new this year and the CY program's priorities and purpose areas.
Thank you, Elena. Next slide, please, Sheila. The CY program supports comprehensive community-based efforts to develop or expand prevention, intervention, treatment, and response strategies to address the needs of children and youth impacted by domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, stalking, and sex trafficking. This will also be referred to in this presentation as the Violence Against Women Act, or VAWA crimes. The CY program serves children and youth ages 0 to 24 and their non-offending caretaker. Within the CY program are 3 purpose areas. All applicants must only choose one to focus on their project. This is something I will discuss more in a few moments. Next slide. We would like to highlight a few important updates to the CY program this year. First, pursuant to changes in the reauthorization of VAWA in 2022, funds may be used to develop, enlarge, or strengthen culturally specific victim services and responses related to and prevention of female genital mutilation or cutting, also called FGMC, as part of project activities to address a CY purpose area. Additionally, for FY 2024, legal services are considered fundable activities. Both are allowable activities that can be incorporated, but not be the sole activity within one of the established CY purpose areas. Next slide. Awards made under the CY program will be for 36 months, tentatively beginning on October 1st, 2024. Projects can receive an award for up to $500,000, and applicants should request the entire amount in their application. OVW estimates that we will make up to 19 awards this year for an estimated $9,500,000. See page 8 for more information. Next slide, please. We recognize that keeping track of the various priority and purpose areas mentioned throughout the solicitation can be intimidating. I'm going to go over these now to hopefully provide more clarity. OVW has identified specific topics or issues related to the VAWA crimes that the office will focus on. These are the OVW priority areas. The 2 OVW priority areas identified on this slide are the ones that are applicable to the CY program. Expand equity and tribal sovereignty as essential components of ending sexual assault, domestic violence, dating violence, and stalking by improving outreach, services, civil and criminal justice responses, prevention, and support for survivors' disproportionate rates or impacts of violence and multiple barriers to services, justice, and safety. And expand economic justice and financial advocacy for survivors of sexual assault, domestic violence, dating violence, and stalking, including as a tool for violence prevention. Please note that incorporating one or both of these priority areas into your proposal is optional. Applicants should clearly indicate in their application materials that they intend to address a priority. OVW and peer reviewers will not deduce whether or not a priority is being addressed. Applicants proposing projects to address a priority area may be given special consideration during the recommendation process. What this means is that OVW has the discretion to recommend a lower scoring application for funding if it is meaningfully addressing one or both of the priority areas. Please see page 6 of the solicitation for criteria to receive special consideration under each priority. If you choose to include either or both priority areas in your proposed project, be certain you have carefully reviewed these requirements and that your proposal narrative, budget, and MOU all include partnerships, activities, and strategies that demonstrate your capacity to meaningfully address the priority. For example, if an organization partners with an urban Indian organization, but does not equitably compensate them for the important work that they're performing on the project, this may be seen as not meaningfully addressing the priority area. While this would mean the applicant would not receive special consideration under the priority, the application would not be penalized otherwise if OVW or peer reviewers determined that they have not meaningfully addressed the optional proposed priority. Next slide. In addition to OVW priorities, the CY program has program-specific priority areas. In response to the widespread and increasing harm posed by the distribution of non-consensual intimate images, deep fakes, online enticement, sextortion, cyber stalking, and other forms of technology-facilitated abuse, the CY program has identified the prevention of technology-facilitated abuse as a program-specific priority. Like the OVW priority areas, this program-specific priority area is optional, and special consideration will be given to applications that meaningfully address the priority. As a reminder, applicants should clearly state that they are addressing this priority and indicate how they are meaningfully doing so. Next slide, please. We will now go over the CY program's purpose areas. Applicants must select one and only one of the purpose areas shown on this slide. Selecting a CY purpose area is required. Purpose Area 1 is providing services and training to address children exposed to the VAWA crimes. These are ages within 0 and 10. Second, creating safer communities for youth, prevention, intervention, treatment, and response services for youth impacted by the VAWA crimes. This is ages within 11 to 24. And 3, providing school-based services, prevention, intervention, and response to the VAWA crimes. This is within ages 5 to 19. The activities described in the proposal narrative and the budget should reflect the selected purpose area. You will see that each of the purpose areas reflect a range of ages for the children and youth to be served through the proposed project. Applicants should identify the specific ages within that range that the proposal will address. Please closely read the mandatory program requirements for each purpose area, which are detailed on pages 13 and 14 of the solicitation. Before moving on, I want to reiterate a few important points and provide you with a few helpful hints to assist you in submitting a strong application that addresses one of these 3 purpose areas. While you must meet the requirements in the solicitation, this does not mean that you cannot add activities to your project that go beyond those required activities for your chosen purpose area. In fact, applicants should feel free to add activities to the program requirements as long as they are allowable within the scope of this program and do not undermine victim safety. Next, be sure to identify the specific ages within the age group that your project will serve. I stress how important it is to do this. Every year, applicants lose points during peer review because they have stated that they will serve the entire age range for the specific purpose area, but then the project narrative only supports a specific age group within that range. Whichever age range or specific ages you state you will serve, the proposed project must include staff and activities to demonstrate proper education and the skill set to serve that designated group. For example, Purpose Area 2 can serve youth ages 11 to 24. Because of the distinct differences in youth development, the type of skills necessary to serve and engage with an 11-year-old are very different from serving and engaging with a 17-year-old. Therefore, applicants are encouraged to focus on a specific age group within the listed range. For example, the applicant may select Purpose Area 2, but choose to focus their project and hire staff with demonstrated experience with ages 15 to 18. Additionally, be sure your application addresses victim services, prevention education, and training. Each of the purpose areas require activities to support these services. Applicants cannot do just prevention work without also providing victim services and training, and vice versa. Lastly, while each purpose area is focused on a specific age range, they are also focused on specific types of services. When deciding which purpose area to apply to, think about the focus of the activities so that you can select the purpose area that best captures the project that you propose to implement. Next slide. We believe that meaningful community partnerships are essential to effectively addressing your chosen purpose area. Next, I'm going to discuss the required partnerships that all applicants must include in their application. Applicants and partners are limited to meeting and fulfilling only one required partnership category or role. This means that every application must have one organization that fulfills each required role as outlined in the solicitation for the specific purpose area. Applications that fail to include the required partnerships, including applications that only list one organization to satisfy both required partnership roles, will be removed from the review process. Next slide, please. An application addressing Purpose Area 1 must include a victim service provider and a community-based organization. All partners need to be local and located in the place where the proposed project is being implemented. For Purpose Area 1, the victim service provider must have either a demonstrated primary purpose of providing direct victim services for children who are victims and/or exposed to the VAWA crimes, or have a demonstrated primary purpose of serving adult victims of VAWA crimes, but has a designated program that provides direct victim services to children who are victims of and/or exposed to the aforementioned crimes. For Purpose Area 1, the community-based organization must have a demonstrated expertise in developing or providing specialized programming or services to children. Next slide, please. An application addressing Purpose Area 2 must also include a victim service provider and a community-based organization. The definitions for the two required partners are the same as Purpose Area 1, except the word children is now replaced with the word youth to reflect the higher age group of the purpose area. Next slide. An application addressing Purpose Area 3 must include a victim service provider and a school or school district. For Purpose Area 3, the definition of victim service provider now includes children and youth. Please see pages 13 to 15 for more information on these required partnerships and the full definition of victim service provider. Next slide, please. In addition to satisfying the required partnerships, the CY program requires applicants to either maintain or develop a coordinated community response, or CCR. The CCR includes other community entities that will work with the project lead. Because of this, applicants are encouraged to have more than the required partnerships that I just went over. For more information on this, please see the What Will Be Done section on page 18 of the solicitation. Each of the partners should bring the specific skills and knowledge necessary to support the overall successful development and implementation of the proposed project. When determining whom to partner with, you should take into consideration the specific ages and developmental stage of the children or youth served through the proposed project, as well as the various groups of individuals that are required to be trained and provided with education. You want to establish a strong CCR to successfully implement and support the overall success of the proposed project. For clarity, the required partnerships are part of the CCR, but the CCR is a broader set of relationships with entities in the community that will enable the project lead to implement more lasting impacts and change. Next slide, please. We're now moving on to out-of-scope activities and unallowable costs. OVW and the CY program have specific out-of-scope activities that cannot be supported with grant funds. Some common mistakes we see are applications that include these out-of-scope activities and unallowable costs, highlighted here on the slide. Grant funds may not be used to provide support services for perpetrators of the VAWA crimes. Grant funds may not be used to develop or provide training, products, or policies that focus on sexual harassment, bullying, or hazing outside of the context of grantees' work to prevent the VAWA crimes. Grant funds may not be used to implement prevention programs that focus primarily on alcohol and substance abuse outside of the context of grantees' work to prevent the VAWA crimes. Please note that these types of intersections can be addressed, just not in isolation or as the focus of the grant activities. And lastly, costs associated with fundraising activities are unallowable and must not be included in applicants' budgets. Please carefully review the full list of out-of-scope activities on pages 7 and 8, and review the unallowable costs on pages 21 and 22 of the solicitation. Next slide, please. I will now pass this over to Tracy to go over program eligibility and application requirements.
Thank you, Brandon. Next slide, please. Let's turn to the eligibility requirements and very important deadlines. Eligibility is mentioned on the cover page of the solicitation, as well as page 12. Eligible applicants are limited to nonprofit, non-governmental entities, such as a legal service provider, including a culturally specific organization, such as an urban Indian organization or a Native Hawaiian organization, tribal organizations, Indian tribal governments, units of local governments, or an agency of a unit local government. Please note that foreign entities and institutions of higher education, regardless of whether they are nonprofit, non-governmental, or government entities, are not eligible applicants. Recipients and partners or subrecipients of CY or Engagement in Voice funding in FY22 or FY23 are not eligible to apply as the lead applicant or as a partner or subrecipient on an FY24 CY application. Additionally, current grantees with a substantial amount of unobligated funds remaining 50% or more of the previous award as of March 31st, 2024, without adequate justification, may not be considered for funding or may receive a reduced award amount if selected for funding in FY24. Next slide, please. Both new and continuation applications are accepted. New applications are those that have never received funding under the CY or Engagement in Voice program, or whose funding under the programs expired on or before March 28, 2023. Continuation applications are those that have an existing CY or Engagement in Voice grant, or whose grants closed after March 28, 2023. Continuation funding is not guaranteed. As a reminder that applicants may apply to both the CY and Engagement in Voice solicitation, but can only receive funding under one program. Next slide, please. As you prepare your proposal, please remember that applicants must ensure that proposed projects support only local, community-specific strategies. The applicant and its project partners must be based in the project's service area. Grant funds may not be used to conduct or support regional or statewide activities or projects. Next slide, please. For applicants proposing to provide legal assistance for victims, the application must include a delivery of legal assistance certification letter that addresses the requirements listed on page 13 of the solicitation. A sample letter is also available through a link on page 13. Next slide, please. Next, we'd like to clarify the important dates and application steps that you should have in mind as you prepare your application. Applicants may find this funding opportunity on grants.gov by using the assistant listener number 16.888, the grants.gov opportunity number O-OVW-2024-171939, or the title of the solicitation. Applications are due by 8:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on April the 30th, 2024. Note the two-step submission process in Just Grants and grants.gov, as well as the different deadlines and different systems used during this process. First, you will start the application in grants.gov. This is where you will upload the fill out SF-424 and the SF-LLL document. Second, the application process will continue to be submitted in Just Grants. The process of registering and activating these accounts can take several weeks. It is strongly suggested that applicants ensure they are registered and have active accounts in SAM.gov, grants.gov, and grants and Just Grants by April the 9th. The deadline to submit your SF-424 and SF-LLL and grants.gov is 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on April the 26th, 2024. The deadline to submit the full application in Just Grants is 8:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on April the 30th, 2024. Please see page 15 of the solicitation for more information. Next slide, please. Applicants must use a number of systems to successfully submit an application. Note that these systems have all dedicated support. I will pause here for you to take a picture or screenshot of this slide. Thank you. Please refer to the solicitation, pages 15 through 21 for specific information. Applications must include a proposal narrative, a budget worksheet and narrative, and a memorandum of understanding. The proposal narrative, budget worksheet and narrative, and MOU are scored during peer review out of 100 points total. Next slide, please. The proposal narrative is worth a total of 70 points and includes purpose of the proposal section, worth 10 points, the what will be done section, worth 40 points, and the who will implement section, worth 20 points. The 3 required documents should tell a unified story about the project. The same project should be reflected in all 3 of these documents so that the peer reviewer or OVW program specialist can see a clear connection between activities proposed, the budget to support those activities, and an MOU that reflects the people, organizations that can implement these activities. Each number item under the purpose of the proposal, what will be done, and who will implement must be answered directly in that specific order. Applicants should have subheadings, either a number or shorthand for each number item, and should only include the requested information there. If you include it elsewhere in the narrative, it will not be counted, and you will lose points. Please see pages 17 through 20 of the solicitation for proposal narrative requirements. Please note that the proposal narrative may not exceed 20 pages, should be double-spaced, and should be no smaller than 11-point fonts. Reviewers will not read beyond this page limit. You do not want to lose valuable points due to going over the page limit or not following the formatting requirements. Each year, excellent applications fall below the funding cutoff score for not adhering to the format requirements. See page 16 of the solicitation for formatting details. Next slide, please. All budgets should include the required OVW training and technical assistance set aside. Projects located in the contiguous U.S. must allot $15,000. Projects located in the U.S. territory, Hawaii, and Alaska must allocate $20,000. All budgets should include adequate funds to address language access and accessibility needs. If you have other resources to cover the cost of these services, please note that in your budget. Pages 20 through 23 provide detailed information on how to develop and submit your budget for your proposed project. See Appendix A, starting on page 34 of the solicitation for the budget information and a sample budget narrative. Next slide, please. The MOU is a document containing the terms of the partnership and the roles and responsibilities between 2 or more parties, and it must be included as an attachment to the application and just grant. The MOU must be a single document. Do not submit more than 1 MOU. The MOU must be signed and dated by the authorized representative of each proposed partner organization during the development of the application. You can include multiple signature pages as long as each page includes the names, titles, and date of the signatories to the MOU. OVW will accept electronic signatures. There is no limit for the MOU, so there is no excuse for not providing the information requested. Like the budget, the MOU may be reviewed separately from the full application, so it's important to include all of the requested information, even if you have addressed it elsewhere in the application. Please note that the MOU must state that each project partner has reviewed the budget, is aware of the total amount being requested, is being adequately compensated for their work under the grant, or is agreeing to be partially compensated or receive no compensation from the grant. Please see page 25 of the solicitation for more MOU requirements. And now we will hear from our Grants Financial Management Division.
Hello, my name is Alanda Thomas, and I am a Grants Financial Analyst in GFMD. In the next couple of slides, we are going to focus on aspects of your application that relate to the documents that our financial team, the Grants Financial Management Division, GFMD, reviews. More specifically, we'll discuss some items that GFMD has identified from prior year's applications that could help with expediting our review process. So for today, we're going to highlight certain aspects of the pre-award risk assessment and provide you with a link to a detailed webinar on how to develop the budget that will be included in your application. First, we'll highlight the items identified in the summary data sheet, which is completed by all applicants. Specifically, two items that we would like to discuss are the single audit response and the IRS three-step safe harbor procedure. OVW requests that all applicants provide a statement as to whether they have expended $750,000 or more in federal funds during their last fiscal year. If they have, then they indicate that and also specify the end date of their last fiscal year. However, GFMD is finding that applicants do not always include all of this information. Please ensure that this question is answered in its entirety, on the summary data sheet, question number 3. Another item that we'd like to highlight from the solicitation is specifically for nonprofit organizations. If you use the IRS three-step safe harbor procedure to determine your executive compensation, you are required to provide a non-disclosure letter. Please refer to the solicitation for further details and a link to a sample letter. Note that there are 4 required parts of this disclosure letter. The sample letter provided outlines all 4 parts of the disclosure, so please be sure to follow the sample and provide a response to each of the 4 pieces. The next item that we'd like to discuss is the pre-award risk assessment questions, which assist GFMD during their pre-award risk assessment review for all applications. Each applicant must prepare a response to all 11 questions, and each question has multiple parts. We've noticed from prior years that applicants do not always fully answer all parts of the questions, which in turn requires GFMD to reach out to the applicant, which may delay the funding decisions. Some of the most common issues that we've encountered have been, for example, question number 2, where the applicant indicates that they do indeed have internal policies, but they don't provide a brief list of topics covered in the policies and procedures. On question number 3, some applicants fail to provide a brief summary of the organization's process for tracking expenditures, and more specifically, whether or not it tracks budgeted versus actual expenditures. These are just a few examples, but in general, please make sure that you read each piece of each question and provide a full and comprehensive response. Next slide. This next slide will quickly highlight some resources that are available as you're creating the budget to be submitted with your application. Over the last couple of years, GFMD has developed a detailed webinar presentation on how to develop a budget to be submitted with OVW applications. This presentation addresses some of the challenges that you may face with your budget and provides some insight on OVW's budget review process. This webinar can be found at the link on this slide. Next up is the uniform guidance, which can be found at 2 CFR 200. Use your favorite search engine for this one. Other resources include the DOJ financial guide and the solicitation itself. We know this can be a lot of information to process, so if you have any questions about the GFMD information discussed, please feel free to contact the GFMD help desk at 1-888-514-8556, or for a faster response, you can email us at ovw.gfmd@usdoj.gov. We have financial analysts on standby to answer your questions, so please don't hesitate to email us and we will get an answer back to you within 24 hours. I hope this information helps you all, and I look forward to answering your questions via the help desk.
Thank you, Alonda. As mentioned previously, there are several helpful resources available to you on our website at www.justice.gov/OVW/resources-applicants. You will find the solicitation companion guide, sample budgets, sample MOUs, tips and examples, and much more. Please review and use these resources as they are here to help you. Next slide, please. If you have questions, you can reach out to the Consolidated Youth email box if they're programmatic. If you have financial questions, please reach out to GFMD. And technical questions, like with grants.gov or just grants, you'll want to reach out to those support emails, or you can call those lines listed as well. With that, we have a few minutes, and I set aside a few questions that I thought could be beneficial if we answered them live. I'm going to pull those up. So the first question, I'm just going to go in order. Go back up. Are applicants required to address all the program-specific requirements for the purpose area we choose? So again, are you required to address all the program-specific requirements for the purpose area that you choose? And the answer is yes. Please follow the prompts listed in the solicitation and note the program-specific requirements. I don't believe those were specifically mentioned during the webinar today, but program-specific requirements refer to those activities that you will be doing should you receive funding under the CY program. And so as you think about your projects, it's important to look at those and note that, yes, you will be required to engage in all of the program requirements listed per purpose area. The second question is, during the planning phase, will we be able to make adjustments or finalize our MOU/CCR, or is it unable to be amended after submission? And there's two things with this. The first is I believe Tracy or Brandon went over this already. All applicants must submit a signed MOU at the time of application that includes the required partners. Anyone who turns in an application and is missing a required partner will not be considered for funding. So the second part, should you receive funding, after you receive funding, can the MOU be adjusted? Yes. If for some reason a project partner falls off, decides they don't want to participate, we obviously, should you be funded, will work with you, and you will have the ability to redo your MOU and find that necessary project partner. In terms of the CCR, this is something that is not necessarily required at the time of application. The CCR can be and should be further developed as you go through the planning phase. You'll be meeting with your OVW grant manager, with your TA providers. And so the CCR can be kind of a work in progress and ongoing. So hopefully that answers that question. Next, is it possible to serve both children 0 to 10 and youth 11 to 24 in the same project? And the answer is no. So under the CY solicitation, every applicant must choose one purpose area that they will address. And those projects that are proposed must stay within the age ranges that are listed. So for purpose area 1, if that's what you want to propose for your project, you need to stay within the 0 to 10 age group. That's not to say, however, that you can't narrow the age group to be more specific. So if you wanted to only serve ages 5 to 10, you could. I think one other thing to note is if you are providing those direct services and you are helping a child who is age 6 or 7, and they have an older sibling who also is in need of services and they're outside the age range, you are able to provide services to them as well. But in terms of, and that's again when you get funded, in terms of what projects should be focused on, each applicant should choose one purpose area and only propose activities related to that purpose area and stay within the age range. Next question, again, going back to the CCR team. So is this something that is already created, or does it need to be made up exclusively for this grant? And for this, we defer to you as the applicant. We understand that some of you may already be part of a coordinated community response team. However, please note that there are specifics related to the CCR team for this program in that they need to focus on use. So prevention, intervention, treatment, response of use, because that is the focus of the Children and Youth program. So even if there is a CCR that exists, but it's focused on something else, that would not necessarily serve for this project, for this program.
We do have a couple more minutes to continue to answer your questions in the chat, in the Q&A box. But also a reminder that if you have those questions, if questions arise after the next 5 minutes, please reach out to the OVW Console Youth email address, because we will continue to manage your questions there as well. There was a hand up before. Do you no longer have a question, or was it answered in the Q&A box?
This is Alyssa. Thank you. Yeah, I thought maybe, we could serve more than one purpose area, but I'm of the understanding that's not allowable. And, I'm just kind of curious, are there other OVW, and you may not be the right person for this, but is there a specific reason? I understand that, youth have specific needs based on their age, But, you know, we are a shelter program and we provide services to children regardless of what their age is. And so I'm just wondering, you know, if there are other programs within OVW that might support children regardless of their age, range.
Sure, no problem. Yes, good question. And there is another program that I'm very familiar with, and that's our rural domestic violence, sexual assault and dating violence and stalking program. And we do have an open solicitation right now. We had our pre-application webinar last week. So if you want to go on to the OVW website, you can look at that, the criteria for that program. As in the name, it's a rural program. And so we really focus on supporting applications from rural designated states as well as rural designated areas, and that you may not be in a rural designated state, but you may be able to serve in an area where it's designated as rural by the census tract, whether it's county. Most of the times they're countywide applicants that we get from those designated local rural areas. I'll be happy to answer any other questions about that program offline. You can reach me through the OVW mailbox, even going through the CYEM, but we also have the OVW rural mailbox as well. We'd be glad to give you any other additional information regarding that program.
Thank you.
I think we can try and answer the final question. If you have your hand up, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi, yes. I think I see a response now, but I'm not sure that it's responding to what I'm asking. If we have groups that are serving children and the groups across the age barrier, you know, they serve children besides we want to apply under the children focus, but they're 11 or 12-year-olds in the groups. Is that allowable as long as OVW funding is not paying for the costs of serving those children specifically? Or, you know, if we have groups, do we have to say, and they're not siblings, do we have to say, I'm sorry, you're over 10, you can't be in this group?
I think that, I'll tell you what, I think at this time, that is more of a, if you receive funding question, that you would work with your program specialist on that. Because I feel like that's a very specific question about program activities that would be done should you receive the funding. So I'm going to hold off answering your question in that regard. But again, like I was saying in the Q&A, if there are siblings, obviously, or if you're not using funds at all, but that's something you would want to discuss with your program specialist.
Okay, thank you.
We are out of time, so if you have any additional questions or if your question wasn't answered, please go ahead and email that address that is listed here. Again, it's ovw.consolyouth@usdoj.gov. And thank you very much for your time today and for your interest in applying to the CY program.